The moment Naomi Clark stepped into the cafe that chilly autumn morning, she didn't know her life was about to change. She thought she was just buying her usual coffee before heading to the tailor shop, but fate was waiting for her near the front window. The 23-year-old seamstress carried herself with quiet determination. Life had not been generous. Her mother drove buses to keep the bills paid, her father had passed when she was a child, and Naomi herself stitched late into the night just to stay afloat. Yet she still found beauty in the small things, the hum of her sewing machine, the rustle of fabric under her hands, the golden light of sunrise on city streets. As she joined the line that morning, she noticed him. An old man sat alone at a table near the door, coat frayed at the sleeves, shoes worn so thin they looked ready to give out. His hands trembled slightly as he wrapped them around an empty paper cup, and though his gaze was steady, it carried the heavy silence of someone long ignored. Naomi hesitated. She had only a few dollars, enough for her coffee and maybe a pastry. But the thought of walking past him left a knot in her chest. Something about his stillness, his dignity despite the weariness, stirred a compassion she couldn't shake. "Good morning," she said softly, stepping toward his table. The old man blinked, startled, as though kindness was something foreign. "Morning, miss," he replied, voice gravelly yet polite. "Have you had breakfast?" Naomi asked. He gave a faint shake of his head. "Not today." Naomi didn't think twice. She ordered 2 steaming coffees and a warm sandwich, then set the tray in front of him. "Here. Breakfast tastes better when shared." For a moment, the man only stared at the food, his lips pressed tight as if fighting back emotion. Then he gave a small nod. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," Naomi said, sliding into the seat across from him. They ate in silence at first. Around them, the cafe buzzed with chatter and clinking cups, but at their little table time seemed slower, gentler. He chewed carefully, savoring each bite as if it had been too long since his last real meal. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a fragile weight. "Most people don't see me anymore. But you stopped. Thank you. My name's Eugene." "Naomi," she answered with a smile. "Nice to meet you, Eugene." His eyes softened. "You remind me of my wife. She always said the world changes one kindness at a time." They talked longer than Naomi expected. Eugene told her about his years as a carpenter, about how illness and job loss had pulled life apart, about the loneliness after his wife's passing. He mentioned a son but fell quiet when the subject came up, his gaze drifting toward the window. Eventually Naomi checked the time and winced, she was late for work. Rising quickly, she gathered her bag. "I'm glad we met, Eugene." He smiled faintly. "You've given me more than food. You gave me reason to feel seen again." All day at the shop Naomi's mind wandered back to him. She thought of his worn coat, the way his eyes lit up when he spoke, the gratitude in his trembling voice. Something told her this wasn't the last time their paths would cross. And she was right. The next morning she returned, and there he was, same table, same tired but steady presence. She bought 2 coffees without hesitation and sat down across from him. It became their quiet ritual. Every few days they shared conversation and warmth. Naomi spoke of her dream of owning a sewing studio. Eugene told her stories of carpentry and of the laughter he missed most, his sons, before life had pulled them apart. Naomi didn't realize it yet, but the bond growing between them was planting the first seeds of a transformation neither of them could have predicted. It was a Saturday morning when Naomi walked into the cafe and found Eugene's table empty. The sight unsettled her. For weeks, he had been there like clockwork, waiting with a quiet smile that made her mornings brighter. She asked the barista if he had seen him. He shook his head. Naomi stepped outside, scanning the sidewalk. That's when she noticed a man standing near the corner, tall and broad-shouldered in a charcoal coat. His eyes were fixed on the cafe door. When he spotted her, he straightened and walked forward with a mixture of caution and determination. "Excuse me," he said, voice deep but uncertain. "Do you know a man named Eugene Miller?" Naomi froze. "Yes, he's my friend." "Who are you?" The man hesitated, as though the answer carried more weight than he wanted to admit. "I'm his son. Jordan." The name hit her like a bell. Eugene had spoken of his son often, always with a mix of love and regret. He had described their falling out, his health failing, and the silence that grew between them. Naomi had imagined this son countless times but never thought she'd meet him here on the street. "Eugene talked about you," she said carefully. "He didn't think you'd come back." Jordan's expression flickered with guilt. "I should have come sooner. But I didn't know where to start. For years I thought maybe it was too late. Then, something told me to try." Naomi studied him. He looked strong and successful on the outside, but his eyes gave him away. They carried the same loneliness she had seen in Eugene. "Do you know where he is now?" Jordan asked. "I don't," Naomi admitted. "But he comes here most mornings. I'm sure he'll be back." Jordan gave a slow nod. "Would you, let me know if you see him? Please." Naomi hesitated, then gave him her number. As he typed it into his phone, she wondered what she was stepping into. She wasn't family. Yet somehow she felt part of Eugene's story, and now Jordan's too. 2 days later, Eugene returned to the cafe. He looked weaker than before, his steps slower, his hands shaking more than usual. Naomi sat with him, relief flooding her face. "I thought something had happened," she said. "I wasn't feeling well," he admitted softly. "But I'm here now." Naomi took a breath. "Eugene, someone's been looking for you." His brows furrowed. "Who?" She met his eyes. "Your son. Jordan." The name landed heavy. Eugene's mouth opened, then closed again. His eyes shone with something between pain and hope. "Jordan," he whispered. "Yes. He wants to see you." Eugene leaned back, staring past her as if seeing a memory. "He was my pride. My boy. But when I couldn't provide anymore, I felt like I lost him. We said things, harsh things. And then he walked away." Naomi reached across the table, her hand brushing his. "He hasn't forgotten you. He's here, Eugene. Maybe he's ready to come home." For a long time, Eugene said nothing. Then, with a voice as fragile as the tremor in his hands, he asked, "Do you think he'll forgive me?" Naomi held his gaze. "I think he already has." Naomi didn't sleep much the night before their meeting. She worried about Eugene's fragile health, about Jordan's heavy guilt, about whether the years of silence between them would be too thick to break. But when she arrived at the cafe the next morning, both men were there. Eugene sat at his usual table, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee as if clinging to warmth itself. Jordan stood just inside the doorway, scanning the room until his eyes fell on his father. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Naomi's heart pounded. She wanted to speak, to break the silence, but something told her this was their moment. Jordan finally stepped forward, his voice rough. "Dad." Eugene flinched. The single word seemed to shake him. Slowly, he raised his head, eyes shining. "Jordan." It was as if the world around them hushed. Even the hum of conversations and clinking cups faded under the weight of that exchange. Jordan pulled out the chair across from his father and sat down, posture rigid, hands gripping the edge of the table. "I've been looking for you," he said. "I should have come sooner. I didn't. I didn't handle things right." Eugene swallowed hard. His voice cracked. "I failed you. When I lost my job, when I got sick, I thought I had nothing left to give. You were angry, and I couldn't blame you. So I let you go." Jordan shook his head. "You didn't fail me. I was young and proud. I didn't see how much you were hurting. I blamed you when I should have stood beside you." Naomi's eyes stung as she watched. The bitterness, the regret, the years of unspoken love hung between them like a storm finally breaking. For a long time neither spoke, until Eugene's trembling hand reached across the table. Jordan hesitated only a second before covering it with his own. His shoulders sagged, his jaw tightening as if fighting back tears. "I've missed you, son," Eugene whispered. "I've missed you too," Jordan replied. Naomi sat quietly, her heart swelling. She had only meant to buy a man breakfast, but now she was witnessing a father and son rebuilding something they thought was lost forever. The three of them sat together for hours that day. Jordan asked about his father's health, his living situation, his daily routines. He promised to help him find better shelter, maybe even a small apartment. Eugene protested at first, pride warring with need, but Jordan insisted. "You've taken care of me before. Let me take care of you now." Naomi watched as Eugene's defenses slowly gave way. She could see the boy he had once been reflected in Jordan's eyes, and the father Jordan had longed for still present in Eugene's every word. When they finally left the cafe, Eugene walked between them, leaning lightly on his son's arm. Naomi felt a quiet joy bloom inside her chest. But she also felt something unexpected, a pull toward Jordan. The way he spoke, the way his eyes softened when looking at his father, the way he had noticed her role in all this. She pushed the thought aside, not wanting to complicate what was already fragile. Still, she couldn't deny it, her life had become bound to theirs in a way that went far beyond a single cup of coffee. Winter deepened, and with it came new challenges. Naomi's hours at the tailor shop were cut, leaving her scrambling to pay rent. She hid her worry when sitting with Eugene and Jordan at the cafe, but Eugene noticed the dark circles under her eyes, and Jordan noticed the way her hands trembled when she counted the coins in her purse. One morning, Jordan confronted her gently. "Naomi, you're carrying too much. Let us help." She shook her head quickly. "I don't take handouts." "It's not charity," Jordan said firmly. "It's partnership. You gave my father back to me. That's something I can never repay. But I can stand beside you the way you've stood beside him." Naomi hesitated, her pride fighting her desperation. For years she had survived alone, never depending on anyone. But when she looked at Eugene, his frail body, his grateful smile, and at Jordan, who now came every morning without fail, she realized something: she wasn't alone anymore. Slowly, she told them about her dream. A small studio. Better equipment. Fabrics she couldn't afford. "I don't just want to fix torn hems," she said softly. "I want to create something new. Dresses that tell stories, pieces that give women confidence. That's what I see when I close my eyes at night." Jordan leaned back, studying her with admiration. "Then let's make it real. I can help with the business side, leases, costs, planning. You focus on the art." Eugene's eyes glistened. "And I'll be your first customer. Maybe a suit. I haven't had one made since your age." Naomi laughed, the sound breaking the heaviness that had lingered. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe her dream might be possible. Weeks turned into months. With Jordan's guidance, Naomi found a small but sunlit storefront not far from the cafe. She scrubbed the floors herself, painted the walls a warm cream, and set up her sewing machine by the window. Eugene often sat in a chair nearby, watching with pride, offering advice from his days as a carpenter. Jordan helped with paperwork, advertising, and setting up a simple sign, Clark Designs. On opening day, Naomi stood in the doorway, her heart racing. She wore one of her own creations, a flowing dress stitched with care and hope. Customers trickled in, curious at first, then delighted by what they saw. A few purchases turned into more, word spread, and within weeks she had steady clients. Eugene sat in the front row that day, beaming like a father. Jordan stood beside Naomi, his arm brushing hers as if anchoring her in the whirlwind. And Naomi, once a young seamstress barely surviving, now stood as a business owner, a designer, and, most of all, someone who had learned the power of kindness. That night, after closing, the three of them sat together in the quiet shop. Eugene sipped tea, Jordan leaned against the counter, and Naomi looked around the room, overwhelmed with gratitude. All this, she whispered, started with a cup of coffee. Eugene nodded, eyes soft. Kindness always multiplies. You gave me a reason to believe again, and in turn, it gave you back more than you expected. Jordan looked at her, his voice steady. Sometimes one small act rewrites all our stories. Naomi smiled, tears stinging her eyes. Her life had changed, not through luck or chance, but through a choice she made to see someone others overlooked. And in that moment, she knew, kindness was never wasted. It always found its way back, carrying more light than it began with.